Hi, welcome to Introduction to Linguistics. Today we are going to learn how to solve phonology problems. Before we do that, let's review some key concepts. What is a phoneme? A phoneme is a contrastive segment, minimal contrastive units of sounds. Phonemes are abstract mental entities. Native speakers subconsciously understand that these sounds serve to distinguish the meaning of words in their language from one another. So, for example, when you have the sound of the T in time, you know that that sound is different from the sound of the D in dime. So, we can say that although they have the same environment, look at here, I'm, these two sounds are different, so they are two different phonemes. Now remember, phonemes contrast. What is an allophone? An allophone is a distinct variant of a phoneme. It's the actual phonetic segment produced by a speaker. For example, when we have the phoneme T, we don't pronounce that T always the same way. You have the aspirated T like tap. This one is not aspirated, stop. This one would be a flap, little. This one would be a glottal stop, kitten. And this one would be a syllabic, hunter, for some speakers. So these are all variants of the same phoneme, the T, okay? So when you think about allophones, you remember they're non-contrastive. We are going to see how to identify phonemes in a language. How do we do that? Well, phonemes make distinctions in meaning. If two sounds are members of separate phonemes, minimal pairs can almost always be found. Remember we discussed minimal pairs? Let's see one example of minimal pairs. A good example is time and dime. This is a minimal pair. Why? Because you have the same exact environment. I'm. And the only difference is one sound, and the meaning will be different too. Now, the allophones of a phoneme are not a random collection of sounds, but are a set of sounds that have the same psychological function. What does it mean? Well, they are not random. The variants of that phoneme, they have rules. By analyzing the environment, you will be able to come up with rules. So again, by analyzing the patterns of sounds or the environment that are physically present, it is possible to draw conclusions or come up with rules about the psychological organization of a language, the rules, which is not directly observable. So let's see, how do we do? Well, let's begin comparing the sounds and which is almost silent, okay? So this symbol here shows that you quite not pronounce that much. Well, I know some speakers would say, oh, I don't see much difference, but there is, depending on the environment. So we are going to ask ourselves, well, we have these two sounds. Are these sounds allophones of separate phonemes or allophones of the same phoneme? Okay, so this is going to be our problem, right? To figure out if these two sounds belong to different phonemes or to the same phoneme. How do we do that? How do we solve this problem? First of all, I want you to know that I will provide the words and also the transcription. So you're going to receive the problem with something like this, okay? And the first thing you need to do is to look for minimal pairs. Because remember, if you find minimal pairs and the meaning is different, that means that those two sounds belong to two different phonemes. Okay. After you look for minimal pairs, you're going to compare the phonetic environments. Now, what are the phonetic environments? Well, the sounds around that specific sound that you are analyzing. In our case, the two sounds of R. And also, keep in mind that you need to ask yourselves, are there any natural classes? Here you have the words, the transcription. So now I'm going to separate my sounds. First, I'm going to analyze all the words that have this sound here, which is the that you can really hear, okay? So let's see. I look at my transcription here and I find, oh, I found one word, this one. So I transfer that transcription inside brackets and I skip the R sound. I put a slash here in the R sound, okay? Like this. Let's see, do we have another word? Yes, par. Par is another one. Now look, I don't even need to write all the sounds. I just want to see the environment, whatever is near that sound. So I put the A here. And guess what? This symbol here shows that after my R, there is nothing here. There is no other sound. So I have the A, the sound. I have my slash, which is my R sound. But after it, I don't have anything. So to show that I don't have any other sound here, it's at the end of a word, I'm going to put this symbol here. All right? Do I have another one? Yes, I have broker. Okay, so I put my B, I skip the R sound, and I just go up to here. Just bro. Bro is enough. I don't need to analyze the rest of the word. Okay? Any other one? No, not this one. Well, I have this one. Regain. So it begins with the R. So that means that before my R sound, there is nothing. What do? I put this symbol here. Then I put my slash and I put my E sound because it's regain. Okay? Regain. I don't need to transcribe or I don't need to put the rest of the transcription. No. Okay, I think that is enough. We have one more, but for some reason I don't have here, but that's fine. It would be, if I had to transfer that, I would write just the A and then I would put my slash and that symbol. Okay, but I don't need to. Now let's separate the sounds of the R sound that is not so emphatic. Okay, so let's see. Oh, this one, pray. I say pray. Okay, it's not pray. I say pray. So it's not as emphatic. So here I go. I put my P here because it's the sound before my R sound. And then I put my slash and the rest of the sound that is next to it. What's the next one? Oh, crab. I say crab. I don't say crab. I say crab. So here we go. So I have the K sound. I put my slash and the ash. Okay? Any other one? Oh, fresh. I don't say fresh. I say fresh. Okay, so I have my F. I put my slash. And then I have my epsilon. Okay? Just whatever is around my sound, the sound that I am studying, I'm trying to figure out, solving this problem. Any other one? Yes, I have shriek, okay? Shriek. So I'm going to put all the symbols that you have around it, okay? And put the slash here. All right, so here I have all the environment description and I'm going to analyze when this sound occurs and when this other sound occurs, okay? All right, now let's begin with the sound and then we are going to compare with this sound that is not so prominent, okay? Well, I noticed something in common here. If I analyze the sound that is more prominent, I see that all these sounds right before it, they are voice sounds, okay? Except for this one because it's a beginning of a word. Now look at these other ones here, the that is not so prominent. Well, they have something common. They are all voiceless, okay? The p, the k, the f, the sh, they're not voiced. So now I can come up with a rule. I say, okay, the sound that is not so prominent appears following voiceless consonants. In the other since I have two rules here, because it will appear right after voice consonants like g and b, and vowel sound, or at the beginning of a word. You don't need to describe all that. I just say appears elsewhere, because here, by analyzing this environment, I can come up with just one rule. Okay? So this is my final conclusion. Well, but I have not said if they belong to the same phoneme or a different phoneme. Let's try to answer that question. Do we see any minimal pair here? No, I don't see any minimal pair. So I could conclude, based on my rules as well, that they belong to the same phonemes. Therefore, this R sound and the R non-prominent are allophones of the same phoneme, the phoneme R. Now be careful. Do not jump into conclusions just because you don't see a minimal pair. You need to show the rules, no matter what. You cannot just, oh, I don't see any minimal pair. All I have to say is that they belong to the same phoneme. You have to analyze anyway and state the rules. For example, do the sounds g and sh belong to the same phoneme, or are they two different phonemes? Let's see. I'm going to analyze the transcription. It appears, the g sound appears in gray and also in regain. Okay, so I'm going to analyze these two, and I'm going to come up with a generalization. G appears between vowels or at the beginning of a word. Now let's see the sh sound. It appears in fresh and shriek. So the generalization will be the sh appears at the beginning or end of a word. Okay? And they are two different phonemes. A word of caution: be careful with minimal pairs. They don't need to rhyme. Most of the time you need to evaluate just the immediate environment surrounding the sound in question, but sometimes it's necessary to look beyond the sound's immediate environment, okay? Like if I give you a foreign word, like in Finnish vowels, for example, you have to analyze the whole thing. Make sure to formulate hypotheses about the allophones. Keep in mind that allophonic variation results from the application of phonological rules. Finally, find in your book this map on how to solve a phonology problem and follow the steps. I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.